Just when you thought Gotham couldn't get any stranger, psychologist Schiller arrived, not as a hero, but as a scalpel for the soul. He faced a pre-Batman Bruce Wayne, a boy seething behind a Playboy mask, and in one stunning power move, bypassed the trauma to offer a diagnosis: revenge. He validated the darkness, giving the future Dark Knight the very permission he craved. As if shaping one legend wasn't enough, he was also subtly manipulating a pre-bite Peter Parker's destiny via a bizarre chat system, nudging him toward his Oscorp internship and the inevitable spider bite. But just as he settled into his role, Schiller was ripped from Gotham's gloom and dropped into a sun-drenched New York. His new identity, attending psychiatrist, his new colleagues, an insufferably arrogant surgeon named Stephen Strange. Before he could even process the universal whiplash, he got the call that defined his new reality. A distraught Pepper Potts needs him at Stark Tower immediately. Tony has just returned from Afghanistan, and he is not doing well. From a mentor in the shadows, Schiller has now become the emergency therapist for a hero actively imploding from PTSD. The chessboard has changed, but the game remains the same. Tony Stark's mental state was a tangled skein of chaos. Schiller didn't even need to step into the room. The wall might as well have been non-existent. Through his telepathy, a psychic maelstrom, a confluence of arrogance, terror, and a profound fear of death, was already battering his mind, causing a dull, throbbing headache. He took a deep breath and pushed the door open. In the brightly lit laboratory, Tony Stark's head snapped up. His pupils contracted before he delivered an ostentatious, theatrical eye roll of epic proportions. He looked haggard, yet his meticulously curated appearance would never permit him to seem truly disheveled. This desperate pretense of composure, however, was the very prelude to a complete inner collapse. Schiller could perceive it clearly. Beneath that thin, brittle carapace lay a panic threatening to breach its dam. Schiller cleared his throat, the soft sound shattering the stalemate. Beside them, Pepper Potts cast a worried glance his way before turning and slipping out of the room, leaving the space to them. Schiller sat opposite Stark, the metal legs of the chair scraping faintly against the floor. He began, "Mr. Stark, may I ask you a question?" "What is it? Here to peddle some philosophical mumbo-jumbo, or one of your useless psychological theories?" Stark's voice was laced with a caustic derision, his customary defensive posture. "Neither." Schiller's tone was matter of fact. "I'd like to know what my hourly rate is." The question was a stone tossed into a still lake, shattering all the defensive rhetoric Stark had prepared. The sneer on his face froze, replaced by pure, unadulterated astonishment. "What did you say?" "I said I would like to confirm my consultation fee," Schiller repeated patiently, as if discussing the weather. "I might have had too much to drink when Miss Potts and I negotiated the price. I woke up and had forgotten it completely." Stark was rendered speechless. He waved a hand, attempting to seize back control of the conversation. "Aren't you supposed to pick a more abstract topic? The meaning of life, the root of my troubles. Aren't you shrinks all masters of that?" "That is the next step, once the formal consultation begins." Schiller leaned forward slightly, his gaze locking onto Stark's. "But before that, I must confirm that you can afford my fee." Stark's eyes widened, his expression one of shock, as if he were looking at a savage who had just emerged from a primeval forest. "What, do you have any idea who I am? Good God, what rock did you just crawl out from under? You don't recognize me. You don't recognize this building, Stark Tower. I am, of course, aware that your wealth is rivaled only by nations, Mr. Stark." Schiller's tone remained perfectly level. But the fortune you possess, and the amount you are willing to pay for your own mental health, are two entirely different matters." Stark was utterly flummoxed. He ground out, "How much do you want?" $1 million, an hour, non-negotiable. "Done, you can have it." Stark shot up from his chair like a lit stick of dynamite. "You mercenary lunatic, $1 million. Do you know what kind of party I could throw on a yacht for that? I could hire a dozen, no, 2 dozen, beautiful women." Schiller leaned back in his chair and replied coolly, "For a moment there, I thought I heard someone say he was rich." "Pepper sent you to torture me, didn't she?" Stark was at his wits' end, pacing restlessly. "Fine, go back and tell her she succeeded. I've already explained countless times that the last party was just to make a clean break with my ex-girlfriends. Why won't she believe me?" Schiller waited for the emotional outburst to subside slightly before calmly dropping another bombshell. "Mr. Stark, a dozen women on a yacht won't make you feel any better, especially when you feel like you're about to die." Every one of Stark's exaggerated movements froze instantly. He turned his head with the rigid, stuttering motion of a film reel advancing frame by frame. His suspicious gaze locked onto Schiller like a searchlight. Schiller remained seated, utterly composed, as if his last statement had been nothing more than an offhand comment. "You're terrified of dying, but perhaps what frightens you most isn't death itself, but the fact that you'll have no chance to atone for past mistakes." "Bullshit! Who the hell are you?" Stark's anger ignited again, but this time it was not a performance. It was genuine shock and fury. "Did Pepper tell you?" "No, she doesn't know either. You." His eyes sliced over Schiller like a scalpel, searching for a flaw. "Cut the parlor tricks. I don't believe in damn mind-reading. There is no such thing as mind-reading. There is only psychology." Schiller's voice was steady and firm. He stood, adjusted his collar, and said, "You can continue to stonewall. My fee is calculated by the hour. If we waste a little more time like this, I'll be able to go pick out a new car." This rhythm, alternating between grave seriousness and wry mockery, completely threw Stark off his game. His head splitting, he demanded, "How did you know?" "Based on your ridiculous psychology." "That isn't important. What is important is that the only advice I can offer you is to first resolve the threat of death. Of course, you may think I make it sound simple." Schiller paused, looking into Stark's eyes, waiting for the fish to take the bait. "But the specific method is." Stark stared at him, holding his breath. Schiller smiled, his tone shifting abruptly. "To prepay 50% of the fee as a deposit, so we can begin the subsequent treatment." Stark felt as if the top of his head were about to be incinerated by rage. He was so incensed he laughed, snatching up his phone and dialing Pepper. "Sweetheart, where did you find this vampire of a doctor?" "Yes, he's charging $1 million an hour." Schiller stepped forward, took the phone from his hand, and spoke into the receiver in a business-like tone. "Miss Potts, Mr. Stark's unit of measurement for $1 million is 1 yacht, full of beautiful women." With that, he hung up decisively, waving the phone at a stunned Stark. "It'll be in my account in 5 minutes." Stark was still staring at him, but this time the belligerence in his eyes had diminished, replaced by a growing scrutiny and probing curiosity. He folded his arms across his chest, sat back down, and adopted a posture that said, "All right, let's see what you've got. Talk." Schiller went straight for the jugular. "What are you running from?" What am I running from?" Stark retorted reflexively. "You'd best ask yourself. The answer is hidden there." Schiller's gaze seemed to pierce his chest, straight to his anxiously beating heart. I'm not referring to Miss Potts's demanding phone calls, nor to the suggestive texts from your ex-girlfriends. I'm talking about something that truly terrifies you. He leaned against the edge of the desk, mirroring Stark's posture by folding his arms. The eyes behind his lenses glinted with an analytical light. I've never encountered a case quite so peculiar, very unique, extremely rare. An involuntary shiver ran down Stark's spine. He shifted warily. Hey, I'm not into men. Keep your distance. Schiller ignored the quip, continuing his monologue. You're not nearly as absurd as you pretend to be. I know someone very much like you. He also disguises himself as a cynical playboy, like some kind of fool who lives for the moment and never thinks about tomorrow. His voice deepened, taking on a strangely hypnotic quality. But he's brilliant, too brilliant, and so he's waiting for someone to give him an answer from his past. Stark watched Schiller, and Schiller calmly met his gaze. Silence spread through the air, the atmosphere growing heavy. Finally, Stark was the first to break. He lowered his voice, making one last attempt at resistance. I'll give you $2 million to leave. I'll tell Pepper your treatment was very effective. If I'm not mistaken, Miss Potts is likely listening in at this very moment. Schiller cut him off with a single, understated remark. Stark fell completely silent. Schiller broke the quiet. For $2 million, I can tell you a method that is guaranteed to work. Deal. In the part of your past you most avoid, there lies every answer you seek. Schiller's voice was like a key fitting perfectly into a long, rusted lock. I saw it in the news once. The founder of Stark Industries, your father. Enough. Stark spun around abruptly, leaving Schiller with only his back. His voice, thick with a tremor he couldn't suppress, seemed forced from the depths of his chest. Pepper will transfer the fee to you. Get out. He would want to give you a second chance at life. God bless you. Get out. Accompanied by a choked roar of fury, Schiller turned and left. Behind him, the sharp crack of a glass smashing against a hard surface echoed through the room. Meanwhile, in an office at SHIELD, Nick Fury pressed his earpiece, issuing a command in an indisputable tone. I want an immediate investigation into a psychologist named Schiller. I want everything on him, now. A massive sum of money soon appeared in Schiller's account. He thought to himself cheerfully that while Stark was currently a difficult porcupine to handle, for the sake of the money, he was more than happy to help this cash cow resolve his troubles. And a much greater surprise was quietly on its way. A notification popped up on his system interface. Copyable ability, Spider, Man. So, the previous inability to copy wasn't a system malfunction. It was because Peter Parker had not yet been bitten by that radioactive spider. Now that his powers had awakened, Schiller's permission was unlocked as well. Without hesitation, he tapped copy. Spider, sense low, grade acquired. Unlike the violent torrent that had accompanied the acquisition of telepathy, this ability's integration was remarkably smooth. Schiller merely felt his five senses sharpen slightly. He could see farther, hear more clearly. As for the legendary danger, predicting intuition, he felt nothing for the time being. He felt a pang of regret. It would have been nice to acquire the spider's physical prowess as well. But on second thought, even a weakened version would likely only push his athletic ability slightly beyond peak human, far from the level of leaping between buildings. After all, Peter Parker's own abilities had developed gradually. But since the Spider-Man storyline had now begun, it meant Ben Parker's tragedy was just around the corner. Schiller pondered for a moment, then sent a message to Peter. "How are you feeling? Do you want to come to the hospital for a checkup? I'm a doctor. I can refer you to a reliable trauma specialist." Peter's reply was almost instantaneous. "Whoa, you're a doctor? That's so cool. Which hospital do you work at?" "Orthopedics. I don't think I need it. I feel amazing right now. I think Gwen is about to say yes to going out with me." Looking at the text, practically vibrating with teenage hormones, Schiller typed his reply. "I still advise you to get it checked out. A bite from an animal is no joke. Besides, it would be a good chance for us to meet." Peter was clearly hesitant. Meeting an online friend at this particular moment, right after getting superpowers, seemed like a bad idea. He was far too excited. Schiller immediately threw out an irresistible lure. "I was thinking you could bring Miss Stacy with you. I'm at New York Presbyterian. I can arrange a comprehensive physical for you both, free of charge. Afterwards, you could go for a date at a nearby coffee shop." The offer hit Peter's weak spot perfectly. His family was of modest means, and he'd almost never had the opportunity for a full physical, let alone at a top-tier medical institution like New York Presbyterian. He replied, a little embarrassed, "Thank you, but I was wondering if I could bring my aunt and uncle too. They're getting older. Of course, that might be asking too much, so if it's not possible, just forget I said anything." "Of course," Schiller replied instantly. This played right into his hands. "I'll book you all in for this weekend. You can also try inviting Miss Stacy and her family. I have plenty of available slots." Seeing the message, Peter nearly cheered. He had always been a little insecure about his family's financial situation. It was always Gwen helping him. Now, he finally had a perfect chance to repay her. Even with her father being an NYPD captain, getting an appointment for a full physical at Presbyterian required a very long wait. Peter felt like his luck had recently been off the charts. First, he gained the superpowers he had always dreamed of, and now a friend he met online turned out to be a well-connected, high-powered doctor. This time, his aunt and uncle definitely wouldn't say that he was wasting his time on the internet.